having a conversation about psychic coping. So previously, we've discussed how humans are aware of this internal imbalance. We talked about it in the past couple episodes where we were looking at how we view our absence of awareness, in that we feel like we don't belong. We feel like we're missing something. We don't feel satisfied. We feel like something's missing. And then we also looked at those with underdeveloped psychic and other soul abilities, where you feel depression, you feel anxiety, you have fear of success or fear of failure, just to name a couple of traits. And if these episodes are really resonating with you, you want to learn how to deal with this in a healthy way. Well, first of all, you are listening to this, so you are open to the possibility of what this stuff is all about. So kudos to you. Awareness is like the biggest thing we could do right now. The point is with psychic coping, we're trying to live a life without a fully developed psychic soul ability skill set. We have some developed skills, but not a mature set of skills that help us sense and perceive the messaging coming through in the soul world, such as those intuitive skills or those psychic skills. The absence of awareness or underdeveloped skill set leads us to a life out of balance. And as a result, we feel alone. We feel misunderstood. We feel unsatisfied. We feel confused. This unnatural placement leads us to depression and anxiety and all these other secondary and tertiary conditions, all living an unbalanced life of addiction or fear. Knowing what the absence of your soul abilities and soul senses feels like, identifying its traits, syndromes, symptoms, impressions is one way to identify that you are missing out on your birthright skills and you want to get control. So we're going to start building the psychic coping skills on this episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Hey, this is Sarah with NextGEN Medium, the podcast. I'm a psychic medium intuitive. The way I like to say it is that I have discovered my psychic intuitive mediumship abilities just a few years ago. I feel like if I say a psychic medium intuitive, that denotes that some people are and some people aren't. And the whole point of this podcast, of what I do with NextGEN Medium, is to raise awareness that these things are your birthright and that you are welcome to this world too. And that it's stuff that's available to all of us. And I came across it a few years ago, a couple of hints along the way that these skills were something I could do, but never thinking that this could encompass my life. Like what you see on TV of these mediums, being filmed, doing readings. And I never thought that I could be that person, but here I am now, maybe not with a film crew quite yet, but here I am talking about it. I've had enough experiences that my skeptic self has been convinced that this is for real. This is real life. And every time I experience my soul abilities, my soul skills, a world that was impossible at one point to me, and it is now possible. And I want to bring you into this world, have you be aware that this is available to you, but also maybe help you with my own experiences with the fact that just a few years ago, I didn't know I could do this stuff, and now I can. So we are talking about how we live our lives up to this point of having these skills and not even realizing it. They're there. We still use our senses. We still use our abilities, but we're just not aware of it. And so I call them underdeveloped psychic or intuitive or mediumship skills because they're not in a place of control. They're not, maybe not even a place of awareness for you. And so there've been lots of things that we've been talking about. It develops a lot of dissonance for our individual selves in a lot of different ways. The fact of the matter is, my truth, everybody is born with the capability to use your intuition, to activate it, shut it off, with the soul senses, tap into it, control your soul abilities such as your psychic, your mediumship, your healing. Some will develop them without much conscious effort. Others will have no formal knowledge that such a thing as soul abilities exist. And some people will just live their life completely disconnected from their higher selves. Just to recap, psychic coping. This is the term I made up. So psychic coping is how we adapt to surviving with underdeveloped psychic abilities. we have internal imbalance. Psychic coping is what happens when we feel like something's missing, when we feel the effects of these underdeveloped abilities. We feel like something's missing, or we feel out of control, or we feel like we don't belong, or we feel unsatisfied. Just nothing fills that void. We could still have no formal knowledge of all this stuff and still experience psychic happenings. But if you are unaware of these concepts, then they could very much remain a mystery of life, which there are many of. So being able to entertain the idea that you are a psychic, that you are a psychic being, that already puts you in a very small group of people that are conscious of these capabilities. It also puts you in a small group of people that are open-minded enough to take on the responsibilities of the psychic soul consciousness and all that goes along with it. I'll put it that way. If you identify yourself as this small group of people, then you are open enough to take on others' energies. And this could mean that you've coped with this underdeveloped intuitive skill set long enough. So right now, as I'm talking to you, as you are hearing this, as you are processing it through your brain, it's time to turn your coping into developing. That's what we're doing this episode. Isn't it exciting? I want to guide you through it, and I got some information. So let's go ahead and get going. So let's set things straight here. Coping means you don't really know what's going on, or you don't really know how to deal with it. So past couple episodes, we've been talking about how you're coping with it, and now it's time to deal with it. And I've burdened you with this responsibility now. You can't go back. Now it's always going to be in your mind. If you stop right now, this will forever haunt you. So you got to keep going now, or this will haunt you for the rest of your life. You're welcome. It's my gift to you. So putting an effort into protect your energy will allow you to escape the feedback loop that you may find yourself in on a continual basis. So this feedback loop could be perpetual financial issues, perpetual romantic endeavors, or constant and unexplainable physical or mental issues. Soul abilities and soul sense development, it's not a cure-all for all problems, but having more control over what seems out of your control could definitely be appealing to a lot of people, and I bet it's appealing to you. So the effort that you put into yourself with protecting your energy could feel like hitting a reset button for your own consciousness to allow you to focus and to gain awareness to prioritize your internal self. That is what is most important. Prioritize your internal self. If your internal self is unstable, then the playing cards of goals and dreams that you manage to place and balance on top of your foundation will not stay steady for very long. Being a steady vibration allows for everything else to literally fall into place. So once you get things going with protecting your energy, being responsible for your energy, awareness equals responsibility. Remember, I transitioned you to that and you had no idea that that's what was going on. Your efforts will become easier. You just have to get the ball rolling. So I'm a big advocate for meditation, and I understand how some people feel about meditation, but I think there's something to sitting and focusing on what is you that is the most important thing you can do in general. That's how you prioritize yourself. I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people because we're so used to having our mind think about many different things at the same time while we're physically doing many things at the same time. We are constantly distracted, and so sitting and shutting things off is really not what we're conditioned to do. And meditation needs to break you of that. If you can't sit in the moment and just be, then you cannot get into this work probably the way that you want to. There's an acceptance of being in the now that comes with the higher consciousness, that place of higher consciousness. So if you feel like a person when you think about sitting still and closing your eyes and observing what goes on inside of you, in your head, in your body, if that to you sounds really boring, then I'm not sure if you're ready for soul work yet. For me, I get a little excited. For me, I put it on the calendar, but does it actually happen? Probably not. But every time I do think about it, I do get a little excited. If you've tried meditation and it just doesn't hit you right, then I don't know if you're ready for soul ability stuff. I'm just going to put that out there. Because if you can't be in that place of quietness, then I don't think you're ready for what's about to come next. So I'm going to be talking a lot about meditation. The first exercise that I would have for you, for those developing their psychic, intuitive, maybe mediumship, maybe healing abilities, is a guided meditation that I have for you guys on my YouTube channel. It's on my blog too, nextgenmedium.com. It's called White Light Meditation. This is the first meditation I ever did. It's also the one I do just about every night before I go to bed. And there's something that feels like home to me when I do it. But let me just talk you through kind of what happens with the white light meditation. So this is what's called a guided meditation. I have a video that you would play and you would sit comfortably and close your eyes and just let me guide you through. I've recommended this before in a previous podcast episode, but honestly, I can't recommend it often enough. This meditation helps empower and protect you. So white light meditation, like I said, was the first meditation I ever came across in a book, and I bought it years ago. And actually, I'm sure it's in several books, but it is also the first meditation I practiced with a spiritual circle, which takes on a whole other level that you could rarely experience by yourself. But it's a 12-minute meditation. It's great to practice a few times a day for a few weeks when you're just starting out, assessing where you are with your psychic soul self. It allows you to become familiar with how you sit in your body, the energy that you exude. It also, this particular guided meditation, it helps you visualize sort of recharging your spiritual energy, taking energy from the source. It's flows through your body, and it's this glowing white light, and it's a way for you to focus on what's going on with the different parts of your body just by being aware. So this white light that comes in through the top of your head, I visualize it coming in as sort of like milk, like a liquid, and it's glowing, and it flows all the way to the bottom of your feet. And it starts filling up your body, this milk, glowing milk energy. And so while it's filling up parts of your body, your focused attention is on your feet and then up. I'm getting chills right now because it's how I usually, when I'm visualizing, that's what I feel, is I feel chills flowing up my body as I'm putting attention to different parts of my body. And it's like where the chills are is where my attention is. And I'm like kind of waiting for the chills to catch up, or the chills draw me further up my body as I'm getting filled up with this white light, milky, liquidy substance until it goes all the way up my legs, up my torso, down my arms, up my head, and then it comes out the top and actually spills out all over myself. And then it becomes a spray. This is how I visualize it. But in the guided meditation, I talk you through all that stuff, and you visualize it as I'm giving it to you. You know what I mean? So you just sit in your power and just feel it. Just feel what's going on. That's it. It's really simple. I really like this exercise. I use it as often as I remember to, because I think it is a way of intending pure energy into my body and neutralize the residual mood, residual nerves, energy, get energy out of my muscles, just a way to reset. It's my reset button, is this particular meditation. And so check that out at nextgenmedium.com, also on my YouTube. That is probably, I want to say that's my most visited video on my YouTube, because people will use it like every day, multiple times a day. And you are more than welcome to do that as well. This meditation is a way to help neutralize. It's a way to recharge. It's a way to reset. But it's also great when you are first starting out and to become familiar with how different places in your body feel, what it feels like to have that energy go through you as you're visualizing it. And then it becomes almost like, I don't know, like a mind-body connection. And then the next step, after this light, milk light thing is spilling out all over you, spraying, and I like to think of it as I push it out and it becomes not just around me, but it fills the whole room, and then it fills the space around my whole house, and then it fills my town and my nearby cities, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and it fills the whole world, and then I'm filling the universe, and then I'm at Source. And that's when I have a conversation with Source, and I tell Source how grateful I am for my wonderful family. I don't think that's in the meditation, though. Talking with Source. So try that meditation out and start working on developing your soul abilities, your soul language with this first meditation. Something else I would recommend to you is a process that helps outline when to assess and put to work your protection. Basically, when you feel your energy is threatened, which can result from a lot of different situations or people, there's sort of this process that makes you less vulnerable to having your energy affected negatively, but also puts you into control of what you allow in or what you block out. Some situations you can't avoid being in, but that doesn't mean you have to compromise your positive vibes, man. So I have sort of this step-by-step process that analyzes how and when to protect your psychic self, your intuitive self, especially when you have those psychic or soul senses that capture other people's emotions and their feelings, like those clair empaths. This is sort of a guide on generally what you can do when you feel energy shifts or feels different, but also something to keep in mind if you don't identify with it now, but in the future, it might ring a bell. You know what I mean? So just keep this in the back of your mind. So when you do come across this kind of stuff, you know where you can go back to find this. So first step is to assess the energy. So when you come into contact with a new person or a particular situation, first you need to get a feel for the energy. This allows for you to be aware in the moment. So you're going to stand back and be objective and have that objective viewpoint. So no skewing of personal differences. Quite simply, put attention on different parts of your body and ask yourself, how do I feel right now? That easy. Next up is to feel and observe. So use your physical and intuitive soul senses to take in what is around you. Also, who is around you? What energy is being emitted? So this is purely subjective and uses your soul sense to receive information and your soul abilities to perceive the information. This can feel different for different people in different situations. However you feel is how you determine your next step. So your next step is to decide what is most beneficial. This is your time to practice your free will and to practice being in control. This is the time that you take action and take charge of your intuitive power. So do you let in the energy or do you block it off? Is it beneficial energy or is it harmful energy? Breaking it into these terms allows you to gauge what your intention is as a soul being. Will you take control of it or will you absorb it? Will you be a victim of it? If you choose to absorb, then you take on the responsibility of the energy affecting you. This can be good and bad. Good energy, then the energy you have is met or elevated. If it's low energy, then the energy you will have is met or lowered. So there's some bad high energy and low good energy. It's your assessment that decides to reject the energy or absorb it. And the last step is to put it into action. Do you absorb the energy or do you protect yourself and avoid that from even happening? Either one of these actions does not make you powerless. You still have a choice to cut it off or open up no matter which way you go. What's important is having the choice. So what's important to understand is that in the future, once you have more control of your reception bubble, you will find an automatic control switch will go off. And you won't have to consciously make this assessment every time you are in an energy influence situation. So acting on your reception space starts before people are even around. But if you find that knowing the boundaries of this receptive force is where you are at, then your next step may be cutting off others' energy. But there is one thing to make clear out of all of these steps. You are now aware of what you need to do. You are in a place of knowing. You will no longer be a victim of inability. This is your responsibility now. I've passed it along to you. You are in a place of power. You have power. It's done. The last thing I wanted to mention when it comes to psychic coping and development stuff, once you do have awareness that you have skills, or that you're even open to having skills, and having gone through this assessment that we just talked about, and knowing that you need protection, it's time to do a visualization. That's hard to believe that is how it all really works, but it really is how it works. I've given meditations for finding the place where your soul sits. Now it's time to use a visualization to draw back your reception net, your reception bubble. It's an invisible thing. I think of it like a net, like a bubble net. It is yours. It takes in information, whatever comes across that net. And so the invisible thing that absorbs information around you for you to take in and process, that's what this net is made up of. So I've created another guided meditation for you. And it's like a visualization to control where your soul senses engage. And so that's the idea behind the net. Okay, think of it like a spider web. So the spider's hanging out, okay, but he's on his web. So when something comes along and hits the web, there's vibrations and it affects the spider. The spider is being told by the vibrations of the net that something has happened. And so that's very much kind of a visualization that you can put of this net that's around you. And this visualization, it's a guided meditation, and it turns your energetic field into a tool of inclusion or exclusion. Okay, so it helps you visualize the process of awareness and retraction, allows you to exercise growing and shrinking your reception field. And it really is visualization that is the tool for us to be able to control it. Some people think, well, that's my imagination, expanding this net or retreating the net. And the fact of the matter is if you're thinking it and you're putting intention in it, then it's kind of happening. And I think a lot of people have a hard time believing that that's how that works, but that's kind of how it works. So check that out at my website, nextgenmedium.com, also on my YouTube. So I have both of these meditations there, and this will help you be able to feel more in control of what's going on. And it's a visualization exercise, and I walk you right through it, and it's a tool that you can take with you. So when you're out and about and you're feeling like, geez, I feel like my energy's shifting here, and maybe you start recognizing when it's happening, that's when you can do your visualization in your head. Whoop, shrink it in that net. That does it for this episode of NextGen Medium, the podcast. There it is. That's how you take action. Now you know what to do when there is a threat to your energetic field or a benefit. Now you have a freedom of choice and a new responsibility. Congratulations! What a big step. Look at you. Look at you developing already. Okay, that does it for this episode of NextGen Medium, the podcast. Check out my website, nextgenmedium.com. Book a development session or a psychic reading, psychic medium intuitive reading. And I even offer both in one session. You can sign up for my newsletter to find out what's coming up for NextGen Medium, the website, what's coming up for training materials, and ways for you to get free readings. I got that too. Like me on Facebook, on Instagram, and Pinterest. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll chat with you later. See ya. Bye.